Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Transformation Denmark page. I am going to go ahead and mute everybody. And that way we won't have any background noise and you guys don't have to feel like you're walking on eggshells. Today is November 20th, 2017 in the United States. It is Thanksgiving week. That means on Thursday, everybody's going to eat way too much, watch parades on TV, and then football for the rest of the day. That's pretty much what Thanksgiving is. And Jorn told me earlier that he is actually having a traditional American Thanksgiving Day in his house because he's a real fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, and he wants to watch football and see how everybody's doing. So anyway, we have a lot of ground to cover today, and so I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to leave some time at the end for discussion and questions, of course. And so let me just queue up the screen share. Okay, you should all be seeing my screen now, right? Everybody, thumbs up, you're able to see it? Okay, Debbie says yes. All right, so let me just reposition some things here so that I can control the meeting and still be able to see what's on my screen. All right. So today, a lot of ground to cover, and let's get right into it. If I can get my computer to react. There we go. All right, first thing I want to talk about today is our Facebook policies and practices. And this is intended to keep our message clear and get it delivered to the right audience. And as you know, our mission is to connect with the 7 pillars of Danish society. And that means that we're going to cover a cross-section of just about every kind of thought, belief, and everything else. And so to help communicate this message effectively, I've established some policies, and they're not going to be burdensome, and I think we've considered everybody in this. But first, we've got the Transformation Denmark page. So if you go to Facebook and you enter in Transformation Denmark, you're going to be able to pull up this page. And the purpose of this page is for public communication. Anybody can join in the discussion. Anybody can contribute. We are going to monitor this page so that if something inappropriate gets posted, we certainly will pull it down. But we do want to create kind of a public dialogue. And the purpose of this is to communicate our mission, communicate our vision, communicate our strategy, and encourage participation, and also to promote a values-based culture throughout Denmark. Now, the other page we have is the Transform Denmark. And this is going to be our team page. This is where we're going to communicate messages and communicate what's going on, and do some of our training announcements. It's where you can ask questions, you can gain information, you can share success stories. As we start to have some great success stories from roundtables from around the nation, we're going to want to share those stories and have a place to capture them. And so this Facebook page for Transform Denmark will be a place that we can do that. And then we will selectively decide which of those will also be copied over to the public page. It's also a place where you can share challenges. If you're struggling to communicate a message properly, or you're working with a particular group and you don't seem to be connecting with them, this would be a great place for you to pose a question to the rest of the group, and then they can provide ideas and insight and help you with maybe formulating a different approach. And it's also for the purpose of strengthening the team, giving us what I like to call that family atmosphere, where the family can communicate and keep in touch as to what's happening. Now, in both of these groups, we are going to have people from all walks of life, all of the 7 pillars, and we're going to have people that are not necessarily of the same mind when it comes to political beliefs, spiritual beliefs. And so as a result, we want to make this a positive environment, a positive workspace. And so one of the things I'm going to ask from all of you is that we put no faith-based content on either of these 2 pages. And that's 0. We don't want any. You all know that I'm a person of faith, and I know many of you are too, but many of the people that we're going to be working with side by side, arm in arm, hand in hand at times, are not going to share that. And I don't want to create a situation where they feel uncomfortable because they don't fit. And we want to be accommodating to everybody. And so as a result, I don't want any faith-based posts to be put on either of these sites. And I'm just going to tell you up front, if we do find those, we're just going to pull them down. And so don't put them there. Now, as the note says here, we are going to provide an alternative for those who are faith-based, to where you can have that kind of an outlet, because, again, you're one of our 7 pillars, and I want to give you a good place to live and operate in that area of faith. So keep on the lookout, and we'll let you know when that site is ready, and then you'll get invited to it if you're a person of faith, or you can ask to be included in it. And there you can post anything you want to about your faith. So we'll give you that outlet, but on these 2 sites, the Transformation Denmark and the Transform Denmark, we are asking you to not put anything faith-based, and I'm going to add to that, not to put anything that's deemed to be, overtly political. I think in this day and age, virtually anything we say can be construed as political. So I'm not suggesting that, but you know what I mean. There are certain things that are very divisive and separate us, and then there are things that draw us together and create unity. And of course, it's the latter that we want to have posted on both of these 2 sites. Okay. And if you have questions about this, just write that down, and we get to the end, we'll queue that up and let you ask your questions. Okay, I want to talk just a minute today about the law of the Big Mo. Now, some of you may have never heard of this term. It comes from John Maxwell's book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And what it says basically is that momentum is a leader's best friend. And that's truly the case. Now, the law of the Big Mo says that we as leaders need to identify and remove the barriers to momentum in an organization. Sometimes those barriers and obstacles are people. Sometimes they're not people, they're circumstances. But as a leader, we have to identify those barriers and remove those barriers in order for the organization to move forward. And that's part of what this dialogue is about. We also need to identify momentum supporters. And these are people on the team that are engaged in the process, and they add value to others on the team. They add value to those that we influence. And these are great resources on any team, those that are momentum supporters. And my advice to you is to always try to be a momentum supporter. And the way you do that, as I said earlier, is that you intentionally seek to add value to each conversation that you have. Now, some conversations you're able to add more value than others. That's true. But in virtually every conversation, you can find a way to add value to that conversation, to add value to that person. And when you do, you watch and see what happens with the momentum in your life. Number 3 is to identify the momentum breakers. and develop a plan to align or realign or reallocate resources toward forward progress. Now, as leaders, this is something that we have to do on a regular basis. You know, what are the barriers? Who's supporting the process? Who's standing in defiance of that process? And we have to make course adjustments. And so that's something that I take very seriously, because momentum is our best friend. We want to grow, and in order to grow, we have to have momentum. Number 4 now is we need to identify the areas where we need to create momentum to move forward. See, sometimes there are opportunities that are presented to us, and we need to recognize those opportunities and take advantage of those in a good way. And so that's a significant part of a leader developing momentum in an organization, is to identify those areas, those opportunities. Some of you may be familiar with what's called a SWOT process. That's where you analyze the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to an organization. Well, this would fall into that opportunities area. And so as a leader, we want to identify those areas that are great opportunities for us, that if we capitalize on those opportunities, it will create tremendous growth and momentum. And the way we do that as individuals on the team, we create momentum by being in a roundtable. I cannot stress this enough, that if you are participating in a weekly roundtable, you are automatically doing something that is creating momentum in the organization. Make sure that that's high on your priority list, that you are participating in a roundtable. We encourage others to participate in roundtables, and this is the process of sharing our vision, sharing our program, talking to friends, family, and others, because our program is suitable for anybody. Basically, if they can read, they're a good candidate for this program. That's a pretty broad market. Now, that's good for us, but that also can be a negative in that there's a lot of moving parts. So that's why, first and foremost, get yourself in a roundtable, and then second, encourage others to get into a roundtable and tell our story. Talk about the things that we talk about in our meetings. Tell people about the value of roundtables and the impact that it's had on others. And I'm going to be giving you some tools today to help you do that. But make sure that you take the opportunity to tell the story about what we're doing. And then set a goal as an organization. Now, this is something that each of us are going to work together. I'm not asking you to personally do this, but I am asking you to contribute to this organizational goal. And that is that we want to have 10 organizations from each of the 7 pillars committed and actively involved in roundtables. So we want 10 businesses. We want 10 different government agencies, and those can be defined in a lot of different ways, but 10 different government agencies. We want 10 different organizations that might be connected to the media or the arts and entertainment. We want 10 faith-based organizations. These might be churches. They might be non-profit or NGO type organizations. But we want to get as a goal to have 10 organizations functioning on a weekly basis in roundtables. What that's going to do for us momentum-wise is we can't describe it right now. The forward momentum that would be created by this. So we're talking about 70 different organizations doing roundtables. And we have another goal that we're developing, and that is to have 2,000 people going through roundtables by February, when Dr. Maxwell comes to speak. And this goal right here could help us accomplish that. Just 10 organizations from each of the 7 pillars, 70 organizations doing roundtables, and each of us can help with that. Each of us can contribute to that. And then the 5th thing that the law of momentum says is that it is tied very closely to the law of explosive growth. So the law of momentum we've covered here, and we want to pursue the law of momentum in these ways. but we also want to anticipate the law of explosive growth. And what the law of explosive growth says is that when leaders start leading leaders, that's when you really catch momentum. That's when the organization really takes off, is the law of explosive growth. And so the law of momentum and the law of explosive growth are very closely tied. And so to that end, I want to talk about a directional change that we're going to be taking as an organization, because we now have enough people involved in the organization that we need to start to put some structure into place. So I want to talk a little bit about what we're going to do in putting in some team structure. And I'm going to explain to you exactly what we're trying to accomplish through this, and certainly would welcome your feedback on this. And I would also add that we have selected 5 people to lead some teams. It doesn't mean that they are any better than you. It doesn't mean that they're any more talented than you. It just means that we try to pick those that we think would create the greatest synergy in the team right now. But we want you to know that we see all of you as potential leaders. And as the team grows, and I do expect very rapid growth, then the opportunity for others to step up and lead a team is going to almost immediately be there. So my encouragement to you is to embrace this process, embrace the structure, get close to it, and help us develop it. And then when the opportunity comes for you to step up, you're going to be well positioned to do that. So I don't want anybody to be disappointed if they weren't selected as a team lead. But what I would like, if you are interested in being a team lead, I would very much like for you to contact Jorn and let him know, hey, when the time comes, I'm ready. I'm all in. I want to serve, and keep me in mind for a team leader position, because then that'll help us in our future selection process. So I just want to show the first team, and Ingrid has agreed to lead this team. And here are the team members for that team. And again, I'll come back and talk about how we're going to structure this and what we're going to do. I want to share the teams with you first. The second team is going to be led by Pia, and you can see the members of that team. Third team is going to be led by Dorta and her members. And the fourth team is going to be led by Stephen. And then the fifth team is going to be led by Henrik. And so these 5 have agreed to help us in this new structure, and this is their team breakdown. And of course, this meeting is going to be posted on our Transform Denmark page. So if you didn't get all of this, you'll be able to capture that. I'll very likely even put the presentation on there as well as the video, so that you can go to it for reference. But you can expect to hear from your team lead in the next few days. And here's what they're going to be focused on. And this is what we're going to be talking to them about. We want each member in our Transformation Denmark team, we want each member to receive a personal touch each week. Some type of personal touch that says, hey, we're thinking about you, and we're here for you, and thank you for your participation. So just that personal touch. We then want to be able to track the number of people that we're talking to each week so that we can follow up. So they're going to be asking, how many people did you have a meaningful conversation with this week about Transformation Denmark? And we're going to ask some questions about, who they are and what pillar they may be in. And so we're not trying to bury anybody in work. In fact, we're trying to do the opposite. But at the same time, we do have to start to grab some of this very important information, because it will help us to make better decisions down the road. And rather than put that burden on 1 or 2 people, we want to spread this out so that it's not a burden for anybody. Everybody does a little bit, and then it makes a big difference. And so we'll be tracking the number of people that you're talking to. Who did you talk to? What's their background? What was the results? And that will be very important information to help us make decisions moving forward. Number three, we want to understand any challenges that you may be encountering or any negative feedback that you're getting from people. Somebody might say, oh, I heard about you guys and maybe didn't have a good impression. We want to understand that. I don't know if you know who Bill Gates is. I think most people do. Bill Gates, founder of Microsoft. He said that your customer complaints are your most valuable business intelligence. And so as an organization, we're never going to shy away from someone who might have a complaint. We want to draw up close to that person. We want to listen. We want to understand and then be able to respond appropriately. We're not under any illusion that we're always going to be able to satisfy everyone, nor are we trying to, but we absolutely want to listen to as many voices as we can so that we're making the best informed decisions possible. And this is one of the ways we can do that, by getting that feedback from you. So if you're encountering challenges in what you're doing, or you're getting any kind of negative feedback, that's very important information to us. Number four, did you participate in a roundtable this week? That's one of the key questions they're going to ask you. Did you participate personally in a roundtable? Did you lead a roundtable this week? Both those numbers are very critically important to our organizational success. And how many others were with you? So, we're just going to try to get roundtable rosters, and there's a form that's coming. I don't have it ready yet, but there's a simple form that you'll be able to use to take a roster of your roundtables and then submit that back to us so that we have a means of tracking who's in what group and how often they've met. And it is not to be able to come to people and say, hey, you haven't been in a roundtable. It's quite the opposite. It's so that we can track who is in a roundtable and make sure we're getting them all the resources that they need. And then the fifth thing is, what resources do you need moving forward? We are working very hard to create some tools and resources for you to use to tell our story, to draw people into the Transformation Denmark program. And we're going to continue to create those tools. And so getting your feedback and saying, gosh, it'd be really helpful if we had this. And have you thought of creating this? Those are the kinds of things we want to hear from you. And then finally, suggestions and ideas for how we can grow the team and grow our reach in the nation. Because you are out living and influencing and doing life with a lot of people, and you're going to have a unique perspective that none of the rest of us will have. And so we want to get your feedback. So this is what a team leader is going to do on a weekly basis, is they're just going to touch base with you, find out how you're doing, gather some very important information that will help us in making decisions, and get your feedback on tools and resources that we can create to help you, and obviously become very aware of any barriers that you may be experiencing in growing Transformation Denmark and accomplishing our mission. So with that, I want to talk to you about some of the tools that I'm going to be rolling out today. And the first is our program presentation. And so to do that, I need to flip to a different presentation. So bear with me a second here. Let me get this queued up. And then I will come back and share with you. Okay, you should once again be seeing my screen. Everybody, are you able to see my screen? Thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay, all right, we're good, good. Okay, so let me reposition my screen again so that I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so what this is, many of you have seen this presentation. In fact, this is how many of you came to be involved in Transformation Denmark, but I've modified it a little bit. I am not going to spend the time to go through this presentation. I just wanted you to see that it was done. I've kept it very simple. I will tell you, I started in making a very elaborate presentation with lots of pictures and images and graphics, and it just didn't feel right. It you know, graphically, image-wise, it looked great, but it didn't feel right. And I thought, this is not going to be easy for people to duplicate. I needed to go back to the original plan and go back to the simple plan. And so what you're going to see is a very simple, straightforward presentation that you could actually just read the slides and be able to tell an effective story. Now, some of you will be able to add your own stories and be able to add your own, what I would call color commentation, fill in the blanks, so to speak. You've heard my stories, but you'll be able to use your own. But even if you didn't feel comfortable doing that, you could just literally go slide by slide and read the slides with someone and be able to effectively communicate. And I think that's why it didn't feel right, because it just needs to work for everybody. Now, maybe down the road someday we'll do up some very fancy presentation. We might even make a video. But right now, I wanted to keep it very simple. And so, again, I won't go through this whole thing, but I just want you to see it's just slide by slide, talks about Denmark's a great country and how great can be the enemy of progress and growth. And so how do we achieve greater things? And it answers those questions. Well, the answer, of course, is that people create greater things. And how people best learn is through those aha moments. Those behavior shifts require an internal connection, something that gets our attention, and that's what the roundtable process does. And that's why it's so effective. And so just a little bit of a setup to the roundtable process. We talk then about why this works. It's inside-out learning. Now, some of you will remember this is a shift we moved this slide up further in the presentation. I think it flows a lot better. But just talk about how inside-out learning is so much more effective in transformation. And then we talk about the roundtable process creates that aha experience. So now we're talking about roundtables, and the reason is that values-based learning is better. And we talk about how we use the roundtable process, this values-based learning model, to create those aha moments, and how change is not dictated. You've all seen this, and the results are better. And then we talk about the 5 steps of a roundtable and how the roundtables are a simple yet powerful process. And then I shift, and I'm putting more focus on us versus on what others may be doing. I am only making reference to what's going around the globe in order to add credibility to our story. But really, it's about our partnership with Global Priority. And so Transformation Denmark has partnered with Global Priority. We talk a little bit about Global Priority and how for 25 years they've been focused on creating values. I love this line. It's not mine. That's probably why I love it. Our goal is to take organizational values off the wall and put them into the hearts and minds of the people. And I just think that's a powerful statement that Global Priority made. And talk about 50 values separated into 5 modules and how it's good for any kind of group. And then we talk a little bit about what's happening on a global scale, some things about Guatemala and Paraguay. Again, a person does not have to have a tremendous background knowledge in what's going on there. You can simply read the slide and it's still going to tell an effective story. And the outcome is positive cultural renewal, and that we have roundtables that are active in over 100 countries around the world. I think that tells a very clean and effective story to say, you know what, we're focused on Denmark, but we're not the only nation in the world that's doing this. And then we shift and talk about how we as an organization help them create transformation. And we do that through 4 simple steps. And basically it's to meet with them and to build a customized roundtable plan, train their leaders, show them how to manage expectations, and then return periodically with follow-up training. And obviously, there's more steps to it, but these are the overarching steps of what we will do. There are 4 simple steps that we can apply to virtually any organization. And then just kind of a summary slide that transformation begins in me. We can't change others. If we're going to change, the change has to start in ourselves. And then when we change, it automatically applies the right amount of influence to others. That's why the roundtable process is so powerful. And then we encourage them. This is a call to action. We encourage them to join a roundtable today. And that is the end of the presentation. We end with our mission statement where you can do questions and answer those questions for them. So it's a very simple, straightforward presentation. Now, I have put this into a PDF format, which means that you can pull it up on virtually any device. It will function like a slideshow, but it's if you do full screen. So if you open up the PDF, tell it to do full screen, it will work just like this, but it's stable. That means it'll work on virtually any device. You don't have to worry about, trying to go from a PC to a Mac or trying to, go from one type of software to another. The thing should run on virtually any device. If you should encounter any issues using it, let me know. But right now, that's what we're going to post. And so I'll be doing that a little later today, posting this presentation on our Transform Denmark site. And you'll be able to download it from there and use it as often as you can. Okay, let me show you the next piece now that we are going to use. Get this one set up. Okay, the other piece that I'm going to be sharing with you is, let's see, there we go. Nope, I want this one. Okay, so once again, you should be seeing my screen. Thumbs up if you're seeing my screen. Okay, everybody's got it. Very good. And just reposition my screen so that I can see everything else. Okay, and again, some of you have seen this presentation. I made a few minor modifications to it, but I wanted to put it in your hands. Now, let me just talk briefly about our process. Our process is very simple, but if you're not familiar with it, nothing is simple, right? And so I'm giving this to you now, but I want you to know that coming in the next few days as I finish it is going to be called what we call a customer journey map. Now, anybody who's in the sales industry or has done any kind of sales training or process improvement, that term is probably familiar to you. But a customer journey map measures the journey that a customer takes from first becoming aware of what we do as an organization all the way through to being a continuing participating client or customer of what an organization does. Now, we're kind of unique in that we are operating kind of really in both worlds as a nonprofit NGO, but also as a for-profit organization, because we are going to be charging for our services. And so we're kind of a hybrid of these, but the fact is we still have a customer. Even a nonprofit organization, even an NGO has a customer. That customer is defined as who you add value to. Who is it that you're trying to help, and what do you want the outcome to be for them? And so what we want to do is make sure we understand the customer's journey. And this is the start of this process. And so you're going to have this presentation posted today as well. But just know that in the coming days, I'm going to streamline all of this into one-page graphic that will show you exactly what you need to do, when you need to do it, in order to bring an organization or a business or even an individual through our process. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one either, because you can look at it, but it just talks about how to identify the people with whom you want to share the story. Excuse me. And then how to schedule an appointment with them to talk about it. This is what we would call a discovery meeting when you go to meet with someone. And this is, just some, and this is a basic slide. We're going to give you some more detail than this as we get the rest of the customer journey map finished. From there, you'll conduct a discovery meeting. You'll meet with somebody, you'll talk with them, answer their questions, identify any barriers that organization may have to move forward with us, and some more of the same steps in the discovery meeting. Then calculate the cost. And I am going to give you a form today. As soon as I'm done with this piece, I'm going to show you another form that I'm going to post that's going to really streamline this calculating the cost process for you. I think we've made it very simple. I think you're going to like it. And so this will talk about how you calculate the cost. Then once someone has agreed to engage with us as an organization, we'll schedule training. Right now, Debbie and I are the only certified roundtable specialists, so we're the only ones certified to do roundtables. We're going to share with you some really good news about the roundtable certification program in Ohio in January. That I'll cover in just a second. Some of you have already heard this news, but I'm going to share this on this recording for everyone to hear. And so you'll get a little bit more, but you'd basically schedule the training. Right now, Debbie and I are the only ones that can do it, but then after January, we're going to have several people that can do training, and that's going to tremendously help our growth. Then step 6 is to go and conduct that training. So we'll give you some more details about how to do a training, and we'll actually have a train the trainer session to where we're going to talk about how to go and conduct a facilitator training in an organization. Each of you saw a presentation that many of you at least saw a presentation that I did earlier this week, or I guess last week. Sorry. About how to train facilitators, and we of course will make that presentation available to those that are who become certified roundtable specialists by completing the training in Ohio, and then we'll give you a train the trainer on how to conduct those trainings. And then step 7 is we need to track the results. And so this is a lot of how our team structure is going to help with this, and that they'll be following up on a weekly basis, making sure that we're gathering the information. As that team comes together and we have a chance to meet with them, they're going to help us create some simple forms that we can fill out that will help us to track how many roundtables we're doing, where they're coming from. All of this information will be very important, because if we see that we're having great success in the business sector and maybe great success in the faith sector, but we're struggling to engage in 2 or 3 of the other sectors, then we want to be able to track that and then try different approaches that are going to work better with those pillars, and then be able to track the results. And so if we're not gathering this data, we have nothing to go on. So tracking results is going to become a very important part of our process. And then step 8 is to follow up. And so that's that, of course, is to maintain that ongoing relationship and make sure that everybody's happy and successful and moving forward and maximizing the program in their organization. Okay, let me just change one more thing here. Put up another example. Okay, you should once again be seeing my screen. Is everybody able to see this? All right, thumbs up. Everybody's got it. So what this is an Excel spreadsheet, and we've tried to make this as simple as possible. All you have to do is, as it says at the top, only complete the yellow sections and then submit the completed worksheet to info@thestromans.com. That's going to come directly to me. And as we get an office established in Denmark, eventually that will change and will start to go to a central office in Denmark. But right now, that'll be coming to me. And the way this works is you just fill in the yellow boxes. So the roundtable specialist, who is the one that's submitting this sheet? That would be your name. And then the organizational name, the contact name, their position within that organization, and their contact numbers, office and mobile, as well as their physical mailing address, and then their contact email, and then any notes. I mean, every organization has unique things to their organization. Special information we should be aware of, maybe a certain barrier that one organization has that the other doesn't. We wanted to give a way for you to be able to communicate any special circumstances to us. And so that would be done in this notes section here. And then just one last thing at the bottom that's yellow, but we'll come back to that in a second. So all you do is enter all this information here and then tell us how many people are participating in the program. And so as you see here, there's 25 participating. That means that we need 5 facilitators because we want to try to keep our roundtables in groups of 5 so that it only takes 30 minutes to do a roundtable. So the worksheet will calculate it all for us. That means that we need to sell that organization 5 facilitator guides. There is a training guide for facilitators to use. We have not translated that in Danish yet, and so we'll be working on that, and once that becomes available, there'll be a Danish version. Right now, there is an English version, and so if they need 5 facilitators, each one of them needs a facilitator guide. Then we're going to do 1 facilitator training. So we're going to come into their organization and train their facilitators. And so that means then we need 25 books, 25 roundtable books that'll go for 10 weeks. And then if they do Module 2, Module 3, Module 4, Module 5, then it calculates the number of books that they need. And so all of that's automated. The pricing is all in there. Everything, you don't have to do any math. All you have to do is tell us how many people are participating in this program. So as you'll see here, if I change this to 200 employees, now we need 40 facilitators. We're going to need 40 facilitator guides. And because we now have 40 people, our training class is going to start to get too large to get the kind of interaction that we want. So we're now going to conduct 2 trainings. And this is important because we're going to charge them for that extra training if they're a larger organization. And of course, if we get in with a larger company and there's 500 participants, we're going to do 4 trainings, but you'll see that it automatically calculates everything out. And so let's take it back to 25, because I think we're going to have a mix of smaller companies and larger companies, smaller organizations and larger organizations. So let's do 25 participants. And here's the cost model. So if they were to sign up and do just 1 module, 10 weeks, then the price is calculated for them in kroner. If they decided that they're wanting to pay for 2 modules up front, we're going to give them a 5% discount. If they decide to sign up for 3 modules, 30 weeks, we're going to give them a 10% discount. If they sign up for 4, we're going to give them a 15% discount. And if they sign up for a year's worth of training and they commit to all 5 modules, then we're going to give them a 20% discount because that helps us. The more people we know that are going to do this program throughout the year, then we can order those books ahead of time when we need them. We don't have to experience any rush costs. We can, be well prepared, have things stocked. It takes less manpower to service that. And so it helps us tremendously to know that we've got X number of organizations that are with us for the full year. And so we're going to give them a discount and share in those savings. And that, of course, gives them the incentive to want to sign up for us or with us. So all of that happens automatically just by you entering the participant count and then providing us this pertinent information for that customer. And then all we need to know from you just by putting an X in one of these boxes is which one they're signing up for. And what will happen is once you submit this to me, I will then create a formal proposal based on this worksheet. It will be sent to the client and you will be copied. And when they pay for it, which the instructions for how they pay are going to be on there. Right now, we're going to run everything through the U.S., and so they'll be paying through wire transfer. If they want to do credit card, that option's available, but I'm assuming from what I've heard, most are going to actually do it through a bank transfer. So all the instructions will be included in the proposal, and once you'll receive the proposal and be able to forward that to your client. My advice to you is that you actually carry it back to them and present it to them in person so that you can answer any questions and get their signature and allow us then the authorization to bill them and all of that. So all of that happens by you filling out this form and providing this information, and that sets everything else in motion. Very simple, very clean, and I believe is going to help us to put a lot of people through the program. Okay. With that, I am going to stop share, and I am going to see what questions all of you may have. So if you have a question, the chat is live. You should be able to raise your hand. You'll find that in the, you just click on the Manage Participants, then that should pop up on your right. Henrik has raised his hand. I'll get back to you in a second. And you'll find Raise Your Hand just kind of in the middle of that participant panel. And so let me go to Henrik. You are unmuted, sir. What's your question?
Just a simple question. Our webpage is in Danish, the language Transformation Denmark. What about the logo? Should that be changed to Transformation Denmark as well, or should it continue to be an E instead of an A?
We probably should. I guess we need to put some thought to that because we may create two separate sites. We may maintain an English site and then obviously have a Danish site. So let me put that on our list of things that we need to work through.
Okay. Good.
Great question. Okay. Ingrid.
So the form that you just showed us, is that also when we have private people, individuals signing up?
Yeah, there is going to be for individuals signing up. That is a great question. I submitted to my webmaster a simple worksheet that you're going to be able to log into our website, enter your information there, and order roundtable books. And that would be for individuals. So if you've got like, let's say you've got a group that you meet with from your church, or it's not the company, but 4 or 5 people from where you work want to do a roundtable with you, then you would go to the website and just order your roundtable books. But what I just showed you is the process for bringing an organization into working with us.
Okay.
Very good question.
Thank you.
Okay. Who else? Okay, Stephen. Yes, sir.
I'm I'm still talking about the translation of material from English to Danish. If we're going to be going to Danish companies, or what is the time? What is the delivery time on translated material to Danish?
Great question. I don't have the answer. There is a meeting that's taking place tomorrow that we're going to be discussing the steps to making that a reality. 40 of the values have been already translated and the translation been certified. So we have a good copy to work from. Tomorrow we're going to be meeting with a graphic artist and we're going to be talking about the timeline to get that laid into a printable form so that it looks like the English version but functions, the same, but is in Danish content. And until we have that meeting, I don't know. And part of our challenge is, how some languages take up more space than others. So we have to figure out how it's going to fit because we want it to look exactly the same. We want it to have the same feel, same look, so that you'd only know if you were using one or the other based on being able to read one or the other. And so I'll know that more tomorrow and be able to hopefully give you a timeline by next week. And then the next function is, how many do we print and how are we going to pay for it? Because that will be the next function. But I'm right now just taking in whenever you're doing something big, you don't focus on what you can't do. You focus on what you can do. And so right now we can meet with the graphic artist. We have translated the values, and we're going to figure out how to take this next step. And then that's going to give us something that we're going to be able to give to a printer and determine then what our costs are going to be. And at that point, we figure out how we're going to pay for it.
Right.
Okay.
Next question to follow on from that. This flyer here, is this intended to be translated to Danish as well?
If you feel that it is effective and communicates a good story, I'm absolutely open to having that translated.
Because, I was at a network meeting this morning, and this could have been a very good opportunity to have handed this out in Danish. I think I only have the one here as an example, but I think that if you're in a Danish forum, then it's quite important to have the Danish language.
Okay. By thumbs up, do you all agree that flyer would be a useful tool if translated into Danish? Okay, I see a couple. Okay, I see a few. All right. So Jorn and I will look at that. Again, we've got to take it from a priority standpoint and what's going to be the most impactful. And if I have to choose between doing the flyer or the roundtable books, obviously I'm going to choose the roundtable books.
I agree with that. It's just that in the absence of visit cards or visit cards, this could be a very good way of actually getting us visually out amongst people.
And the cost of printing those is not significant. It's one sheet. So great question. Okay, thank you, sir. All right, who else has a question? I could not have answered everybody's questions. I got to believe there's a few more out there. Henrik always has more than one question. I know that. All right, let me just. Oh, Ingrid does have another question. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm really set for starting a roundtable right away.
Great.
So my question is, I've tried to get a hold of some material, and the thing is, once I start, what about the payment right away? I mean, I know it's all coming into whenever we get it all organized, but so how do I start it right away?
Okay, so right now, what we can do is we can get you English books.
Yeah.
Those we can order. And so those as soon as and I could do an order for you right now. So let me answer it two ways. There are still some roundtable books, I believe, with Pia and Bent.
But they're on holiday right now, are they not? Because I can't get a hold of them.
Yeah, I think that Pia's supposed to be back. I don't know what day this week. Jorn knows. Hold on one second here. Go ahead, Jorn.
It's only Bent who's gone for a skiing holiday. Pia is home all week.
Okay.
Yeah.
She just hasn't responded to my. I'll try again.
Okay, and if you have any difficulty, let me know personally, and I'll follow up for you. And then to answer the further question is the books that we have in country right now, we're not going to charge anybody for. So if you can get the quantity of books you need, you can go ahead and get your roundtable started, and you don't have to charge anybody.
Okay.
And then going forward, once the website is up and running, you then can order as many books as you want, and you'll be able to get that shipped directly to you, and you'll pay for whatever portion that you need, and that's how you'll pay for those. The process that we've been talking about here today is how we would bring a whole organization into the process.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, I saw Henrik, Stephen, I saw Stephen's hand first, then Henrik, and then Karsten. So I'll come back to in that order. Yes, sir.
The 8-step process that you just showed here.
Yep.
I think step 7, which is the tracking process at the company. Is that done electronically? How is that sort of managed within the company? I want to make sure that we not create a paper trail that's encumbersome.
Yeah. Right now, what I'm anticipating is that we're going to be doing that through an Excel spreadsheet and gathering as much data as we can, and then we're going to have somebody who will do that data entry. And my plan is that we're going to have to put some kind of admin support to us at some point here, and so. For now, I'm hoping that the team leads can help us. And again, that's why we spread it around to several different people so that it takes just a few minutes to do it. But eventually, we want to have an admin function where someone can support us administratively.
Right. But I was thinking more about in the company itself that becomes the client. Do you have any tools for them to collate that information?
Yes, we have, but it is paper.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay.
But they will be able to submit that to us so that we can track that.
Okay.
Okay. Very good question. Okay. Next up was Henrik. Yes, sir.
Who has the roundtable books here in Denmark right now? Is it only Flemming or?
No, Pia has them.
And how many is available at the moment? You know that?
I honestly don't know the count. So you can reach out to her, and same message if you, because of holiday or whatever, if you're not getting a response, just let me know.
I talked to her in church Sunday, so I'll reach out.
Okay, very good. And then I believe Karsten was up next.
I was thinking about a good way to present the roundtable for potential participants. I saw briefly your presentation. I didn't have time to read what the details, but is there some text I just can use if it's in written language and in a mail or something like that?
Absolutely. I could send I can take the outline out of PowerPoint and put it in a Word document. I could do that. Would that be helpful to you?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Let me make a note of that. And we'll post that to everybody.
Good.
Great question. Thank you. Dorta, and let me just say, I understand you did a roundtable this last week.
I did.
How'd it go?
It went well. Eva was participating as well, and Camilla.
Okay.
And one of Camilla's friends and Martin. And so we are up and running.
So who served as facilitator?
I did.
Oh, all right. And how'd you do?
Well, I asked Martin when he had been on the training like Thursday, and I asked him Friday, well, how did I do then? And he said that I asked if I did it well enough, and he said yes. So
Well, that's good.
I guess it was all right.
Very good.
But
All
I
right.
can. We were sitting in a group, like around the table, so we were physically together, and we were having a very good time, and that was something different than when we've had it on Zoom, because then you just like present what you have and then you move on, and nobody can comment or smile or say anything. Even though you're not allowed to comment, people just kind of interact anyway. So that's a process that we need to be better at when we continue, like not commenting on each other and just thank you for sharing and move on. And
Yeah, and you'll find as facilitator, especially as the group gets really accustomed to the process, that they get more open and they do try to talk more. My recommendation is encourage that kind of discussion after the roundtable is done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
try to keep the roundtable focused on following the guidelines, trust the process, and then when you're done, you guys can talk as long as you want.
Yeah, because that was just like, we were just having such a good time.
Well, but keep this in mind too, is that what you're doing is you're modeling the correct way to do it. And so you don't want someone to develop a bad habit in an organization. Let's say that someone participates in your roundtable at home and you're just casual and you're just having fun, but that's where they learn how to do a roundtable, and then they take it into their company and all of a sudden they want to do it the same way.
Yeah.
And that's why we want to follow it.
Even though Martin had not participated in the training, he was like stopping us women from, he was like, aren't we supposed to like be like not talk so much? So that was like really good to have him like be there and just like get it like a little bit more on track than we were. So
very good.
All beginning is like trying to figure out how to do it completely correct.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. Now you had a question.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking if I don't know. It's just like I could easily I think I could easily start up whole lot of roundtables, but I was just there's not enough will there be a economical financial financial something for us if we I was just thinking we have that's just the question.
If I understand your question, would it help you financially to start doing 10 roundtables this week?
Yeah, maybe not in the beginning, but will there be any financial benefits from being so engaged in spreading?
Yeah, at this point, the plan was to try to put any financial compensation on those that are doing the trainings so that we compensate the person who goes in and does the training. I am certainly open to what you're suggesting. I have to sit down and calculate the economics of it. And since I don't know the cost of our books to produce in country, it's very difficult for me to do that. Once we know our cost structure and we know what our baseline is, then I can start to look at it and say, does it make sense for us to, maybe we charge a little bit more, but then for the facilitator, we compensate the facilitator in some way. And that way, if you wanted to conduct, 20 roundtables during the course of the week, you could make some money on it. Right now, that doesn't exist, but I am open to it.
Yes, that was just my question because we are engaged in so many things. So so we could easily do it, but it would take time from like it could easily be a full-time job.
Yeah. And you know what? How cool would that be if we could create that and
Yeah.
make that a full-time job?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be very open to that.
Well, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, next up is Ingrid.
Have the Danish team worked on any phrasing when it comes to presenting the course in Danish? Because there's a difference between presenting in English and in Danish. How
So
to
when you
focus on the phrasing.
when you say the course, are you talking about the
the round table. I'm sorry.
so presenting the roundtable?
Yeah.
My understanding, I don't have the luxury yet of understanding Danish, but my understanding is that the translation process did take care of that.
Okay.
That they changed the way things were presented. They rephrased certain things. Of course, the focus was to maintain the integrity of the content, but they also did do it in a way that would be Danish. So you could talk to Pia about that. She would better be able to tell you what they did, but the process of translation was a very sound one in that they used a 3-step process to validate the work of the others.
Well, I guess my question is actually the same as Carsten. Is there a document in Danish that would help us present the roundtable? But I would talk to Pia about that. Because
Yes.
I find that quite important that we do it the same way, that we use the same expressions and so on.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. And if you find out that you still think there's a concern there, please let myself
yes.
or Jorn know, because we do want this to be very effective.
I'll just help phrase it then if it doesn't exist.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're about quarter after. I've got plenty of time, but I know it's getting late for you. So I'm just going to ask any last questions from anybody. Debbie, I always know to come to you and give you the last word. Don't worry.
What about global priority for the certification?
Thank you. Yes, I needed to remind everybody of that. Okay. So the certification program in Ohio is, in fact, I probably real quick here, let me just pull up their screen. And then share this with you.
Randy, I also wanted to let Ingrid and to let whoever else was going to connect with Henrik, that I just texted Pia and let her know that you guys were going to connect with her about Roundtable books and how many Roundtable books are left.
Okay.
I just sent her that and let her know that we're trying to get in touch with her.
Okay. You guys should be seeing my my screen now, and I'm just going to go into, if I can get this to work. Okay. So here is the information. If you go to globalpriority.org. And you click on that box that I just did, become a transformation specialist. And the whole description of the program is right here. They even tell you the airports you can fly into. They talk about meal options. Pretty much everything you need to know is right here. And the schedule of the meetings, location. Now, you'll notice here it says $2,500. That's US, and that is per person. What they have agreed to, so graciously, is they have agreed to allow our team to come to certification on January 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st. It's basically Sunday evening and then 2.5 days, Monday, Tuesday, and then half a Wednesday. They've allowed our team to come for $1,000 instead of $2,500
Per person.
per person. And if a couple comes, husband and wife, they're allowing them to come for $1,500. So you basically for $1,500 you both could come versus $5,000. And then the other thing is that on the $1,000, that is based on double occupancy. So if you come by yourself, understand that you very likely will be roomed with someone else.
Of the same sex.
I would assume that much, Debbie. Thank you.
I was just double checking.
Debbie, are you going to share a room with me?
Yes, babe, I will.
Okay. All right. Good. Good.
And Martin and Dorda have to share a room. And Ingrid and Karsten have to share a room.
Yes. And the rest will have to.
And that actually includes hotel for 3 days, and that also includes food for the 3 days.
Yes. So it's almost like they're giving you the training
for free.
It really is. So your only expense, other than the $1,000 or the $1,500 for a couple, is going to be your transportation from Denmark to Ohio. And then Debbie and I are going to make arrangements to pick you up at whatever airport that you're coming into. So really, once you get there, you're not going to have any surprise expenses or gotchas or anything. And so here's the thing. I need to know ASAP who's planning to go. And you may not have committed to a ticket yet, but if you're planning to go, I need to know, because they're going to create a special link. You see here that if you click on this tickets, it's going to take you to a site here that's going to charge you $2,500. They're going to give you a special link that's going to represent that $2,500 or that $1,000 or that $1,500 if you're a couple. So I need to know who's coming so that they can send you the link and allow you to register. And so I would love to see 6 or 7 of us from Denmark show up and dominate the room and let them know that we are serious about transformation in Denmark. And here's what it'll do for us. By having, 6 people in country that can do facilitation training, because that's what this qualifies you to do. It allows you to train facilitators. That's how the licensing works on the Global Priority Program, is that once you are a transformation specialist, a roundtable specialist, you then can do facilitation training. And then that immediately allows you to go out and meet with an organization and bring them into the process, and then you do the training, and we've already accounted for that, and that you can be compensated financially for doing that training. If you're not a transformation specialist, then I, under my own agreement with transformation or with Global Priority, I can't allow you to do facilitator training. So it's very, very important that if you're able to do this in your budget, let us know ASAP so we can get you your link, get you registered, and then we'll have a great time in Ohio in January. Now, it's going to be a little cold there. I just want to tell you, there's probably going to be snow on the ground, but it'll be a great time. Okay, so let me go back. That website again is globalpriority.org. And I see Henrik now has a question. Yes, sir.
What about payment terms? I'm putting money aside right now, but I think I still have 9 vacation days left, which I have to apply through my company. I don't know when they're going to pay it out to me.
Okay.
My budget is very tight here at home, so I have put aside right now 1,100 kroners. That's approximately $150.
Yeah, right now they're not asking for your payment, although they will be because we don't have a whole lot of time. But I'm sure that we could work something out with them. So what I need to know right now is if your intention is to come. That's what I need to know.
I'm going.
Okay. Very good. All right. Debbie, anything else? Did I miss anything? Okay. All right. Great meeting today, folks. Thank you so much for your time. This recording will be posted later today on the Transform Denmark page. I see Henrik has a question.
No, I just put the hand down.
Oh,
I can-
okay. Lower hand. All right. Jorn has a question. Let me get to Jorn. Yes, sir.
Yes. Oh, I just want to mention that I'm going to give to contact the ones who are team leads to find time for meeting, so that we will be in contact each week and find out to get this thing going with the team leads and the contact to different people, just for information's sake.
Yes. And so if you don't hear from Jorn, reach out to him. Make it easy for him. Stephen has a question. Yes, sir.
The training that was done on Thursday, that was
I'll be-
recorded, correct? And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
that is where will that be posted? Is that going to be posted on the Facebook page, or here in Zoom, or somewhere else?
It'll be posted on the Transform Denmark page, the
Right. Okay.
private team page.
Okay.
Okay. And Jorn, any closing thoughts?
No, very good. Thank you.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Yeah.
Debbie, any closing thoughts? Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. And we look forward to hearing some great reports of your roundtables next week.